My name is Grace, and I'm going to share with you a story that nearly destroyed my life for many years since I was growing up, since I was 5 years old. I'm 22 years old today, and I overcame. When I was 5 to the age of 6, I was staying with my grandmother in Gauteng because my mother was very sick and she couldn't take care of me. Where I was staying, I had an uncle who was working for my grandmother who had a business. So it went on for many years that after some few months staying with us, he started raping me every morning. Every morning I would wake up in the morning and I'd find my uncle on top of me. I was afraid to ask him what he was doing because it was very scary. And I didn't know how to defend myself. So after some time, I went to my aunt to tell her what was going on, what my uncle was doing to me. And then after some time, when I told her, she was very rude. She didn't want to understand. She was so angry that I spoke about it. And then she asked me how could I blame my uncle for such a thing? Why didn't I see that I deserved it? Because it was all my fault. My parents had abandoned me. They didn't take care of me. They were failing to take care of me. Then who can I blame except for myself? Then I decided to keep quiet because my aunt didn't want to take the story. After a year or so, I came back home to stay with my parents. Then when I got home, I had a brother who was staying with me from my uncle's side. He also started to rape me from a very young age, from this age of 6. And it went on every day. He would have pornographic magazines and pictures, and he would make me to do things that were in the pictures. And then it was so scary, and I couldn't do anything about it because my brother was a gangster. He was very dangerous. He had guns and stuff. So I couldn't tell my parents. And they told me that if I told my parents, they wouldn't believe me. Instead, they would kick me out of the house. Then I kept quiet. It went on for so long. After some time, whenever I would try to refuse, I tried to defend myself. He told me that he was going to get his friends to rape me as well because I refused for him to sleep with me. Then he was going to sleep with my sister, my younger sister, instead of sleeping with me anymore. But I couldn't stay and allow him to sleep with my sister, knowing how much it was killing me. So I would exchange my sister for myself and allow him to rape me instead. Instead of raping my sister, I would allow him to rape me. Then after around, he left. Okay, he got arrested for his crimes. And then I still kept quiet. I never told anyone about it, and it killed me inside. I died from being a good child. I couldn't play with other children for I felt so dirty. I was so angry, I hated myself. I didn't see myself as a normal girl like all the other little girls. When I was 12, I had another uncle who sexually molested me inside of his car. I tried to tell my mom, but then I remembered all the other events that took place with my first uncle and my brother, and I couldn't tell her. Then I went to tell my aunt again, and then instead of helping me, she beat me up that day. And she said that I was a terrible person, I was evil because I was blaming people for doing things that were not true. So I kept quiet. So from the age of 12 until 21, I kept quiet. Inside of me, I was so angry. I hated my parents so much. I blamed them for abandoning me because I believe what my aunt said to me, that they had abandoned me. I felt like a burden. I hated God, and I blamed God. Why did He create me in the first place? I hated myself. I never wanted to live. It pushed me to constant suicidal thoughts. Every day I would come up with different ideas to commit suicide. I would drink lots of medication, lots of pills, but instead of dying, they would get me so sick I would end up in hospital. Until in 2009, when I was doing my matric, it got so bad that I had a heart attack. I nearly died. And then I wanted to speak. I need someone to help me. But I didn't know who to help me because nobody believed me. No one would believe me. That's what I thought, and that's what I believed, that if I speak, I was going to get into trouble. And my parents were going to hate me. They were going to kick me out of the house because I would be blaming my family for doing something that my aunt was saying that it was not true. So I felt that it was my fault, and I thought that it was all in my mind because it happened when I was still young, that I was making it all up. But every day I would sleep crying. I would see other girls living a normal life, but then I couldn't. I hated men. I hated my dad because I would look at my father and still see that man who would come to me. I looked at him as all the other men who had victimized me. I looked at my father as an enemy, as someone who could also rape me. I would refuse whenever, if my mom had to go somewhere, leave me at home with my father because I believed that he was going to rape me as well. I hated all the other men. I hated them so much that every time a man would get close to me, my body would shrink, I would shake and I would cry. After many years, when I was 21 years old, I had a friend who was also raped by his brother, and then she spoke to me about it. That's when I broke down and I broke my silence, and I told her what had happened to me. And I decided that that was it. I couldn't live like this anymore. I couldn't live with the anger. And then living with that anger would lead me to losing my salvation. I didn't know God because I hated Him so much. I blamed Him for all of my suffering. But then that was because I didn't want to open up. I didn't want to look at the beautiful person that I was inside. And I allowed my past to take over my life, to destroy me so much that I became an evil person. I was so ugly outside, even inside, because of the anger and the hatred that I had. I had so much pain that I felt that nobody could understand it. Even if I spoke to someone, nobody would understand the pain because of nobody would believe me. But when I told my friend, I was so happy, so relieved. I felt a burden being lifted off my shoulders because I spoke to someone who went through the same situation with me. And for the first time, I felt that I was loved and that God had never abandoned me and that was never my fault. And I decided to speak to the pastor in my church and I told him everything. That's when I broke my silence freely. And then I allowed God to take over my life. I surrendered my whole life to God. And I asked Him to help me because I couldn't go on my own anymore and I couldn't do anything. So today I am free. I am serving God. I have the Holy Spirit. I'm a woman of God. I'm working with the other young ladies to motivate them, to inspire them. I love myself so much. I love people so much. I'm very happy with so much peace in my life. I don't hate men anymore because I don't get to look at men anymore as I look at them before. I don't look at them as evil people, as the scavengers who are out to destroy people's lives, to destroy women's lives. I don't do that anymore. I now understand that when these things they happen because of others. They don't have that beautiful heart, that loving heart like other men they do, like my dad. My father is a loving man. So I hated him for something that I know today that he would never do to me because I'm his daughter. So I was able to forgive myself. I accepted what had happened. That was the first thing that I had to do, was to accept and say, yes, Grace, it happened and it was never my fault. That's when I was able to forgive myself for all the years that I lived with that anger, that I lived with all the hatred. Then I forgave my uncle, I forgave my brother, and I forgave my other uncle. Then I was able to have the courage to go and tell my parents what had happened. And I was so surprised because they felt so much pain. They were the ones regretting more than me. And then they asked me to please let go so that I may be free, that I may live a wonderful life like all the other young women. Today I'm free, I'm very happy. And I so wish with all of my heart that all the women out there who are where I was one day, wherever you are listening to this testimony, please take the step that I took. It doesn't matter who you're going to look up to. It doesn't matter who you speak to. There are some people who you're going to speak to, they're not going to take it because they don't understand where you're coming from. They don't understand the pain that you're feeling. But then there are others, especially in the church, who are able to understand it, even if they didn't go through it themselves, but they do understand it. And they're the only ones who can help you. So don't suffer alone, because at the end of the day, you're going to be destroyed. You're never going to be happy. Today I know what happiness is. I know what love is, which is something I never grew up with. It's been 2 years since I broke my silence. But the way I'm so happy, the way I made peace, it's as if I've been free for more than 10 years. And I wish I had done this earlier. But it doesn't matter. I know the reason why I broke my silence late. And it's to help you as well who's out there suffering and who's miserable like I was before. So please break your silence because I broke mine. Today I'm not a survivor, but I'm an overcomer. And I did it through the help of God. Thank you.